some people are vulnerable, and we should take good care of those vulnerable people. And we should probably, put them aside and protect them. But we can't be locking down healthy population that is not really at risk, looking at all of the data at having any fatality. And any flu would always be fatal, and usually the history has shown is they're usually more fatal than this. So this is not justified with what I'm looking at right now. I don't know what Vanesa's opinion is, and I'm sorry it took so long.
Thank you so much. That was excellent. Thank you. And Vanesa, what are your feelings towards this?
I love what Antonina said, and I would add something else. I would add that we need to look at demographics and locations. So locking down New York City or locking down at the beginning of this stage was the right thing to do because we didn't have the information and we didn't know what to do. There are certain demographics that I believe need to be in isolation, just like the elderly or people with poor immunity or so on and forward. So what we want is safety. What we don't want is fear. So I totally agree with Antonina, the side effects of this COVID, right? And being in isolation. So the level of depression, anxiety, fear, domestic violence has increased just because we are living in a lot of stress, a lot of fear. And this is my biggest concern, right? It's like, what are the measures we can take as a society? Now we're in Montreal. We've been over 6 weeks into this isolation. What are the precautions we can take as a society to really make sure that everyone is safe, right? And the second thing is that we do have immunity. So if we have immunity, and I love how Ayurveda explains this, immunity is called ojas. And ojas doesn't just mean immunity, it means vitality and strength. So let's measure the level of vitality and strength each individual with its own immunity has. And let's see what precautions now, today, May 2nd, we can put in place, right? So that would be my take on this.
So, no, that
beautiful. If you don't mind, I'll add something to that. I completely agree with Vanesa because we need to nurture immunity. And what people need to remember is our immune system shuts down when we're stressed and when we're in fear. Absolutely. It completely shuts down. This is what the allopathic medicine does. To shut down the immune system, they use they use stress hormones. So if somebody had a kidney transplant, to make sure that the body doesn't reject it, the immune system doesn't reject the foreign organ, they would use suppressing hormones that are stress hormones to keep that in place and downregulate immune system. So the fact that our mainstream media keeps on constantly feeding fear and not allowing people hope, not allowing people the positive, not allowing people to grasp that is probably one of the biggest damages that are being done long term, and that's going to impact us.
Awesome. So the question that I have is for Vanesa. So Vanesa, you've been an Ayurveda practitioner for quite some time now. Can you give us a little bit of a background, like what diagnostic, the procedure you go to when you go see a patient? Because this is a second part that I want to ask you. For those that do not understand or have no idea what is Ayurveda, maybe you could touch upon what it's about and what the procedure you go through when you diagnose a person who's struggling or sick, right?
I love the question. Thank you. So yes, Ayurveda is a traditional medical system that started in India 5,000 years ago and now is all spread all over the world. And Ayur means life and Veda means knowledge. So Ayurveda is basically the science or the knowledge of life. And it really takes into consideration the constitution of the patient. So it looks at its state of metabolism, its physical state, and its mental state, and then determines where this person fits in by determining the predominant dosha. Now, I'll get into dosha later on because it's a little bit more complex, but what we love to do in this scenario is not just assess the symptoms or the disease, but really look at the root cause. Where did it start? And where did it travel to, or where it's located? So two different three different tools. We take an assessment. We look like traditional medicine to, or allopathic medicine. We do look at the medical history. We look at the family history. We also look at the medications that this person is taking or supplements. And then we use something really subtle and yet so powerful, which is taking the pulse. And we don't just take the pulse to look at rate or, how many pulsations per minute we have, but we look at the qualities of the pulse. And that can give us a lot more information that sometimes is not addressed during the initial assessment, or there are things that, we all know ourselves, but sometimes there are things that we forget to mention during the consultation. So it's a very practical tool. And then the last thing is the tongue. So the tongue can give us information about the state of the organs. So it's a beautiful, and as you can imagine, very scientific and very complex medical system that is still practiced today.
That's awesome. Before my last question for this, after I'll pass it on to Catherine and then to Antonina, because just most recently, because of COVID-19, I've been kind of just reading up on, it was all over the news that Prince Charles was, he was diagnosed with COVID-19, but mild. And in the London, one of the speaker for the royal family denied it, that he was treated with Ayurveda. Because as many of you know, a lot of people still believes in a medical doctor. And I think combining both is great. So in that terms, have you ever worked with a medical doctor, or have you, kind of integrate both? Or what are your thoughts on, using Ayurveda for COVID-19 or some of the viruses, right? I mean, I just want to know your thoughts on it, because it's all over the news, and the Union Minister of India kind of just brought it out there. Use Ayurveda for COVID-19. So I'd like to know more on.
Absolutely. I dream of the day where we're all going to be integrated. Where the Western medicine and the Eastern medicine, or the allopathic and the holistic medicine, will work hands in hands. There is such a need for that. And, to answer your question, COVID and Ayurveda, I mean, I came back from a travel abroad when this whole thing went out, right? And I brought my two elderly mothers back from Argentina to Montreal. We had to take so many planes. At home, this is what we use. We use Ayurveda. And I guarantee you that we are all very happy and thriving. We have our two mothers at home with us, 83 and 71. And wow. I believe in this system because I believe in a more integrative way to live, whether it is how we manage our emotions as we're going through this very different way of living in isolation, and also with, not knowing when we're going to go back to, our places of work or practice. And emotionally, it's been very important to have self-care routines. It's been very important to have the right herbs. It's been extremely important to make sure we're having the right nutrition. So totally, I do believe that if we look at every medicine and see its greatest gifts and take what the gifts are and apply to our life, to ourselves, we can all work together.
Awesome. Perfect. Go ahead, Catherine.
Before we move forward, Vanessa, you mentioned the pulse, and it's so fascinating because you can learn so many things. What are some of the things that you can learn about someone besides, the obvious, someone's tired or, stressed? Like, what other things can you find out?
So the pulse, basically, we use it also to determine the doshas. I didn't get into it earlier, but the doshas are actually three different ones. There's Vata, Pitta, Kapha. And Vata is very similar to what air represents. It's a dosha that it's colder. It's also, dry. It's also something that moves really fast. So it's a specific characteristic that we look for. So what that can do in the system, when we look at vata in the system, is that there's going to be constipation, there's going to be dryness, there's going to be articulation, and in the mind it could be loss of focus, feeling very fearful, very overwhelmed. So that is something that the dosha can give us. If we look at pitta, when we see a lot of pitta in the pulse, whether it's the nature of the person, which is a deeper pulse, or a superficial pulse, which is the imbalance, the pitta will show up as fire. So there's a fire characteristic to pitta, either imbalanced or nature people, which we find a lot more arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis. We can find also a lot of loose stools if we look in the body, a lot more acidity, more problems with the liver. In the mind, it can show up as intensity, as someone who's very high strung, who shows up a lot more judgment or anger, resentment. And the last one would be kapha. Kapha shows up as a mix of water and earth. Mm-hmm. And what it does is that it's a more dense, very heavy energy. So it shows up in the system as gaining weight, being lethargic, having a hard time waking up, feeling also depressed, feeling heavy emotions. So those are all characteristics that we can find, we can feel through the pulse. And I am going to be totally transparent. I'm going to tell you, it is not something that is so easily learned, right? Mm-hmm. There's so many, like, I know a few very talented doctors who can really go very deep with the pulse. And then it's a life learning experience for most practitioners, because a pulse is a very delicate, subtle tool that we use, and it's an amazing information tool.
Wow, thank you.
Awesome.
And so I guess everyone is a bit more dominant in one, and then maybe has some of the other ones.
Yes. So I get this question a lot. Should I be, an equal proportion of all three? And that would make me a very, stable human being. And the answer is no. You can be tridoshic, but doesn't mean anything. We are mainly predominant. Most people, some people are tridoshic, but we are predominant in one.
And can you go from one to the other? Like if you change your eating habits, or you're just vata your whole life?
Oh, I love your question. So there is a thing called, like, you're wearing a mask. Mm-hmm. So I call it like that. So you were born a vata person, but then life made you a pitta, right? And all your imbalances find out as a pitta. So what we want to do, we want to bring you back to your real self, to your real state, right? Because now I only spoke about, the imbalances and the negative aspects, let's just say, of those doshas, but those doshas have amazing potentials, and in balance, they are amazing characteristics of what we call the elements, right? So somebody who's pitta and who's completely balanced is a natural born leader, is a person who can perform so many physical activities, who has so much stamina. So these are all characteristics. And in knowing somebody's dosha, we can start preventing their weaknesses.
That's awesome. I sound like a pitta, so.
I sound like a vata and a pitta.
I just want to let you know. But again, really, I could be all of them. But
I guess that brings me into the next question. What is there one vata, pitta, or kapha that's more susceptible to catching a virus such as the COVID-19?
That's a great question. So there is such a thing as the lungs, and the immunity. So I would look more into the state of the ojas and the state of the digestive fire more than the nature of the person. Obviously, there's a lot more kapha because kapha, meaning phlegm and all that, lungs related, diseases related to the lungs are mostly kapha. But ojas, and I'm sure Antonina is going to love this one. One of the biggest characteristics of ojas is having proper digestion.
Right. Absolutely.
So the state of immunity, strength, and vitality is very connected to the state of digestion in Ayurvedic medicine.
That's awesome. That's because that question is, I have a question for Antonina. That's why. So are you?
Oh, that was a great bridge.
So, so Antonina, briefly, can you briefly summarize the relationship between nutrition and hydration to immunity? And does taking supplements help protect against any virus or even COVID-19? Because there's quite a number of people that ask me that question, to ask you, for both of you actually, but you could probably answer that. So please, if you can kind of.
And you said that was one question? I feel like I just talked about this for like an hour and a half. No, thank you. No, I was really engaged in listening to Vanessa, and I agree with her. I think in nutrition, very similar. And what Ayurveda is just probably considered to be the oldest medicine. And I have studied it in college, but definitely surface. It's one of the things that you can go into and spend your whole life perfecting, as Vanessa mentioned. Is what you're born with, is what you would, what you could be at different stages in your life, depending on how you weathering the storms of reality or whatever you're dealing with. The body is adapting all the time. In Ayurveda, it can be picked up, and we can always look at, Vikruti, Prakriti, like you could always look at all these different, how are they at this stage, and how balanced are they to what they're born with, to what their strengths are. And the same happens in nutrition. When you look at nutritional sciences and orthomolecular naturopathic approach to health, I look at my clients and I always see, okay, I'm looking at today, what's going on today. They came to me with a list of things or a list of goals and potentially multiple diagnoses, a history of something. And we have to, every time I look at the client, I will have to look into, okay, where has this originated? Where did you get out of balance? Just like Vanessa, we're looking through Ayurvedic eyes, we're looking at biochemistry, kind of physiology, kind of addressing any insults that may have happened. So we look at the child. I'm asking questions as far as, how was your mother's pregnancy? How was your mother's delivery? How was your mother's, how was the breastfeeding? What was the environment like? Which part of the world? What was the environment in the sense of when you were born and what you have acquired? And what kind of like psychological, mental, emotional state did the child grow into, grow up into? Because a lot of the things are really embedded in us on subconscious level when we're very little. And then a lot of that stuff we carry with ourselves into our adulthood. And a lot of what we do and how we act and how we, communicate in this world always fall back onto this deep wiring that happened, deep wired health and ability to deal with something. Our immune system starts and wires when we're very little. A lot of things. So of course we have a genetic component, and you can see what there's any particular predisposition the person has. Any issues? Do they have any issues with assimilation of certain nutrients? With synthesis of certain nutrients? With adaptation to the environment? There are so many things that happen. So as a practitioner, there's such a big picture that we need to get, or we need to, and we feel like Vanessa will take a look at the pulse and we'll assess, we'll take a look at the person's skin color, weight, disbalances, all the different signs on their face and their hair and in their hands and their everything. There's going to be so much physical assessment. And we do the same. We look at the physiology, pathology, symptomology, but then we also look into psychosomatic and a whole other slew of things. And that's the only time when you look at this method and this approach, this is the only time for us to really get to the truth. When we talk about immunity, it developed when you started developing, as you started growing in the utero of your mom. Your mother's immune system will be multi-generational, will be passed on to you. And the best way to pass it on is to give a natural birth when the baby comes to the birth canal, and acquire a lot of bacteria. We have only every 10 human cell in the human body is human. The other 90% is the bacterial. Even our mitochondria has a bacterial origin. So we're not sterile beings. We coexist in the environment. We're extremely complex. We coexist with other organisms. We're this, just like our planet is, microorganism, like there's this, a species of its own. And it has a very complex kind of biota in a sense, has a micro life on it. Same as within ourselves. And we're developing it from the very beginning. And then it wires, like the first thing that develops when you're in the utero is digestive system. The first thing, there's this big, beautiful canal as the embryo is developing. You have all of the organs sprout from the digestive system. They're like little sprouts, and there's a sprout for the kidney, and the sprout for the liver, and the sprout of the, and that's how we start. And then as we are born, and if we're born to a healthy mother, and as we are born, we're developing immune system, liver function, and everything else, and digestive for the next 2 years. So it's really important to what that baby was expressed. How was the baby fed? Was it a, artificial formula with a lot of sugars and GMOs, or was it a mother's breast milk with all of the immune information, with all of the genetic information, with all of the, with all of that. So we are built from scratch, and that will dictate. I teach preventative medicine in the Institute of Holistic Nutrition, and pretty much any disease I teach, whether we're talking about diabetes, whether we're talking about cancers, whether we're talking about IBS, IBD, Crohn's, colitis, all of these prevalent conditions we see today, digestive or autoimmune or any other development, we can see the roots of that problem potentially starting in the childhood.
Awesome.
So I'm sorry, I went maybe a little too far,
Okay.
But what I'm saying is the immune system is something that we nurture for a whole life, and it is incredibly intelligent and very powerful. And we need to go back to nature in understanding how that immune system is developed and how that immune system can be kept at its ultimate. So right now, what I'd recommend for my clients, make sure they have probiotic-rich foods. Build the good bacteria in your gut. Make it flourish. Make it overtake any pathogenic ones. Make it work for you. It's intelligent. It learns the environment all the time. Take your vitamin C's. Take your vitamin D. Things that you're naturally supposed to be getting from life. Like vitamin D is one of the most important upregulators of immune system. You have hundreds of thousands of vitamin D receptors on your cells all over. So we are sun beings, and yet for so many years we've been told to be afraid of the sun. You don't want to overexpose yourself to the sun. You want to be conscious of how much. But we are light beings. We are beings that need to charge our batteries, charge our immune system, and be outside, get the fresh air. So deep breathing upregulates your immune system. Meditation upregulates your immune system. Conscious, healthy eating upregulates your immune system. Elements that your body is made from upregulate and improve your immune system and function. Every cell in your body depends on vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, oxygen, hydration. And if you're not well hydrated, if you're not well oxygenated, you're going to suffer. Awesome.
Thanks. Catherine, any questions? Because I've got one final question for after you. So.
Oh, okay. It actually, all of this leads to my last question, which we know that the more toxic a body is, the more it has issues, whether it's immune system or cancer or any of the following diseases. But my question is, what can we do besides eating healthy? I guess this is for Vanesa and yourself. What can we do to rid our bodies of toxins besides foods and vitamins? But you did mention go out into the sunlight, getting exercise, but is there something else that we forgot to mention, or that maybe the viewers don't know?
Woohoo! And we are in May. I believe that cleansing, I believe that resetting your digestive tract, your IG tract, and really resetting yourself is the best thing you can do. And I love how Antonina spoke about the supplements, and Catherine, you're bringing back into field, the toxins. The toxins are actually one of the biggest enemies of good ojas, of good, we call it ama. Oja's vitality, immunity, strength is really built by having a very good assimilation and metabolism of everything you're ingesting. Now it's like overworking the system all year long and never giving it a break, never assessing it. So if we have gas, acid reflux, any symptoms after you eat food, there's definitely a need to reset, right? There's not detoxes and cleanses are not really only for people who want to lose weight. Everyone in spring who has the health to do so should really give a reset and a break to their body.
And is there a special cleanse that you recommend?
Mine. So I love the Ayurvedic cleansing. Well, first of all, they call it Panchakarma. So it's a whole system that lasts about, depending on the patient, anywhere from 7 days to 2 weeks, and depending on the dosha. And it can even go a little bit further if there is some sort of disease that is really chronic and needs more help. Now, the cleanse will include eating what we call a mono food. So one type of food, which is very easy to digest. It's called khichdi. It involves, rice and basmati, of course, organic, with mung beans, with all sorts of spices depending on your dosha. And then we can add some kale, we can add, but the basic traditional way is just to have the rice and the mung bean with the spices. I brought it to North America and decided to, okay, let's do some, we can also add some green juices for the Pitta people who are going to need something extra. And, there's other things that we can do to really personalize the cleanse. And then you're taking supplements. So you're taking Triphala to really help you eliminate. We're taking some herbs also for the liver. We're cleaning first the colon and then we're assessing the liver. And what we do, we take ghee. I don't know if you guys are familiar with ghee, but it's clarified butter. So it is the best butter in the world because it has all the good things about a good oil and even a good cholesterol without having the lactose and whatever from a dairy that we don't want. So the ghee is taken every day, and then there's a purge that happens on the last day of the ghee intake. And what it does to the body, not just the digestive tract, but also what it does to the mind is incredible, because you feel so much lighter, literally lighter in everything and stronger, and you're ready to start. You feel clean. And trust me, with a lot of people that have those, debatable eating habits, once you know that your body's so clean, you come out of this cleanse and you're like, I don't think I want to do all that, sugar or all those products that are not really agreeing with me and are giving me all these symptoms that I'm done living with. I really want to live my perfect health life.
And are you going to be starting your cleanse soon?
Yes. So the day after Mother's Day, the 11th of May, we are starting our community cleanse. So everyone, my neighbors, my patients, my husband, myself, we are starting. Yeah, we are starting. And then we get to enjoy summer and feel really, really, really strong in our ojas, in our immunity, like in everything we need.
Well, thank you so much for that answer. And Antonina, anything that you can recommend that can help our body rid of toxins?
Yeah, I appreciate that question, and I love what Vanessa said. It is spring, and this is the time where the body actually kicks in some detoxification, detoxification pathways. So it's really funny. I always say there's two reasons why we're sick. Two major reasons. One is we are deficient in molecules that make up our body and allow our body to regenerate constantly. So we're deficient in things that the body needs to regenerate. And if we can't regenerate, the body starts malfunctioning. And there's a cascade event from a cell to the tissue, from the tissue to the organ and system, and the whole body starts, the physiology is compromised. The second one, so deficiency, and the second one is toxicity. And yes, we live in a toxic world. We go out and we live in the cities where there's lots of, as we know, pollution in the air, with pollution in our soil, pollution in our water, pollution in our food. So we're inundated with chemicals, and the body constantly works to help us deal with it. So, and of course, as it helps us deal with it, nutrients, vitamins, mineral, phytonutrients, whatever you acquired from food and supplementation, the body will throw in to use that to detoxify. So the more toxins that we in the environment with or subjected to on a daily basis, and some say there are some records in some articles talking about 20,000 plus chemicals that the general public is exposed to on a daily basis. So as we are exposed to them, the body constantly has to be in this fight and flight alert mode, using all of the antioxidants, minerals, nutrients, fat, all of this really wonderful molecules to neutralize and detox us from it. So we're deficient already because we live in a world where we have so many deficiencies, and our food has changed and our soul has changed. We also overperforming, overly active, and so we burn through it. But plus, we also leach a lot just dealing with this toxicity. So if we can, first and foremost, we have to help our body. So the spring is here. Some of the easy ways to help our body is definitely go for a walk, move your lymphatic system. As you move your lymphatic system, it turns out, because I always say the blood is the kitchen. The blood feeds our cells. The blood delivers once we digest, and the food gets from the digestive tract into our cardiovascular system. That will be, now we have all of these different molecules and red blood cells delivering the nutrients into our cells. Cells are going to take it up. They're going to metabolize it. They're going to use it to function, thrive, detox, and they're going to dump metabolic waste into our lymphatic system. So again, the blood and cardiovascular is our kitchen. Lymphatic is our detoxification. We call it a sewer system. So you want to make sure your lymphatic system is perfectly functioning, that you're moving it. The best way to make your lymphatic system function and work for you is to move it. It doesn't have, because the heart pumps the blood, and so it pumps the movement of that. When it comes to lymphatic system, it does not have a pump. So the only way it's pumped and we turn off those garbage cans and we detox is by moving, by exercising, by being active as humans. In the past, it used to be farming and doing a lot of activities outside. Today, we're more sedentary. So I ask people to definitely, at the minimum, whatever your exercise routines are, just do something. If walking is the only thing, if running, if yoga, whatever suits you, just do what you are, be creative, but doing any kind of movement is better than doing none. So start where you are. And then, so I also do intermittent fasting. So I believe in the fact that we need to we're over consuming, not only from the point of, how many shoes we stored in our closet and how many, gadgets and toys we buy and whatever, but we're over consuming food. We are constantly sold on this consume, eat 3, 4, 5, 10 times a day, and that's what the industry wants us to do. But we actually need to give our digestive system a break. So from perspective of Ayurveda that Vanesa was just mentioning, there will be a cleanse and where you will take simple foods and you allow that the body to focus. It eases up the digestion. It doesn't compete with all this multiple biochemistry to trying to digest all this 25 different ingredients you just ate. It focuses on few ingredients. It recognizes what they are. They're naturally found, and the body knows how to work with them. And so it detoxes. It uses that to nutrate and to detox. It's not overspent. Same as, and in holistic food kind of preparations, you always want to simplify and take certain things separately or take certain things in mindful concentrations and take the highest quality. So quality over quantity, and doing something like an intermittent fast. So maybe not eating for breakfast and allowing your body, you woke up in the morning to drink a lot of water because the body's been working at night to repair you. It was inwardly concentrated. It was and it was doing so much work in the morning. It wants to flush all the metabolic waste, flush all of the post-repair stuff that it acquired. So you want to go to the washroom, give your body great hydration, drink a lot of clean, antioxidant, potent water to allow the body to hydrate, to start up the system and to detox itself and give that digestive system a break. If you're constantly putting food in there, the body's constantly having to spend a lot of energy breaking it down. If you're giving it a break, the body has an ability to go within and do other work. It can actually draw on storage. So it goes into ketosis and where it can work on the storage and use that instead of constantly relying on digestion and on whatever you take in. So exercise, move lymphatic system, take a break from digesting food so the body can do other aspects of repair, regeneration. And then, of course, slow down sometimes. That alone allows your body to do what it wanted to do all along, but didn't have time to, so it can detox.
Awesome. So I've got one last question, and then after that, we'll open it to everyone who are guests here. And this is for both of you. So if you can, let me know really quickly or, about less than 5 minutes with this question. So Western medicine and holistic approach medicine, whether you want to call it allopathic, should complement each other, right? So in the Western medicine, most of the doctors I've known or kind of just met, from the history of medical doctors, it's all about the five senses, what they see, what they hear, and pretty much it's on prescription drugs, right? They'll see you for a couple of minutes, maybe 10 minutes the most, or 15. And let's just say you have a patient who wants to try a different approach into healing, but at the same time, who's scared of going off medication. What would you recommend? What would your approach would be? Because if you see you have a patient that's getting better the last couple of months, and next thing you know, their doctor is suggesting go back to medication. And I know a lot of people that are like this, right? And what kind of approach or what would you suggest to your patient? Because it's it's a yin and a yang, and right. So have you ever encountered a patient who wants to get off prescription drugs?
Yes.
So naturally.
Yes.
So if you can kind of share that would be great.
All right. So I've been very fortunate. Early on in my practice, I was able to work hand in hand with a doctor, Dr. Perdam here in Montreal, and she really believed in other practices. So we were able to, and she didn't have the time. You're right. They have like 10, 15 minutes. She wanted to help. And then there was like the time restriction, right? So she would send them to me who had more of time, about an hour for a session, to go through nutrition and to go through stress management and everything. And the way I've seen it, and these are my success stories, is that we don't stop the medication. So what we do, we start implementing the right food, the herbs, and then all of a sudden, I'll take an easy one, the one that we have the most success with, cholesterol, right? All of a sudden, we are integrating all these foods and everything. And then she's testing. Of course, they have access to the blood test and everything. And they see the levels regulating. So the medication is reduced and then eventually stopped. So I do believe that there is a future. And I know integrative medicine doctors who are doing so well in the States. I don't know in other provinces of Canada. In Quebec, we have still one retired, but there's a couple also left. But it's coming slower. Like I said, I started to study Ayurvedic medicine in California, right? Because this is where I had to go. But now I could study it in Montreal. So I know it's coming. I really know it's coming. It's just taking slower. So my advice to recapitulate would be this. Go for use both. Use both until you get the results you need. And obviously, there is this idea that your body has so much more intelligence than anything. Your
Thank you.
body's intelligence is so big, and we just need to work as a team, doctors and naturopathic doctors, to really bring it to full success.
Thanks, Vanessa. Antonina, I'm pretty sure you've encountered quite a number of,
Yeah, it's a great
clients.
question. Yeah, I actually I was one of the first things I focused on once I graduated was on working with psychiatry, because it's something that was kind of close to home, and I've experienced a severe anxiety where I was overworked in financial world, and so I became really, really interested in this, and I knew some family friends that was struggling with for years, and I saw how how most of the people give just one side of the story, or just one option, right? And there is so far from the truth and from what really works.
Yeah.
And so I always find, and I always say that medications can be used and should be used for, critical care or some, specific, like a short period of time. The problem is we don't want to become dependent on it, or, rely on this for the rest of our life, because we will be a perfect pharma client who's gonna experience a whole slew of other conditions.
Absolutely.
And when we have people coming to integrative medicine, holistic practitioners, we usually don't just work with the problem that the person had 10, 15 years ago. Like somebody, as Vanessa said, somebody was, diagnosed with cholesterol issue, and were put on the medications. At the time when they come to us, they are already on medication for a long time. We're not dealing originally with just cholesterol. We're now dealing with all of this other onslaught of things, because there's all the side effects, muscle wasting, brain degeneration, because cholesterol is an important part of our physiology and cellular membrane and everything. So we have to focus on so much more than a general practitioner usually would. And it is my passion to get people off. The right way to say it, politically correct way to say it, it is my passion to make medications unnecessary. So just like Vanessa said, we start with where they are, we meet them where they are, we assess the situation, we see where, the medications maybe they're going to help temporarily until we get this person on the right track. But when the body is given all the right tools and given a break and the body starts stabilizing, so medications become absolutely unnecessary, and we don't even have to do it or take the risk of getting people off medications, because that's not part of our practice or whatever. Like we're not allowed to. We are just really working with the person, with the root cause of a problem, so that they're no longer at all, the client chooses to and decides to seize the results, and they personally and their doctor on the same path, they see that there's no longer a need.
All right, amazing questions from my co-host and I, but right now, thanks for all the answers. We're answering all of them, but I want to open this to anyone out there who has a question, because I feel like both of you are like angels, and same thing with Catherine. So it's going to be Johnny's Angels instead of Charlie's Angels, right? So that's why I want to bring it out there. So, for some of you who just joined us, welcome. If you have any questions at all, having any health issues, if you want to message them privately, but if you have any questions right now, ask, this is the time. If not, we can continue with some of the questions that we still have, but the floor, it's open, guys. So if you want to ask.
Anyone?
I have a question.
Sure.
Oh, I have diabetes and I'm using metformin. And I've read an article that metformin has like carcinogenic. Is that true or not?
Vanessa, do you want to start, or should I?
I'll let you start. It's good.
Yeah. So I would say I haven't seen the specific research that indicates to cancer carcinogenesis, but I strongly believe that most medications, because they have a synthetic nature and because that it's non-biocompatible with human physiology, we're not usually drug deficient, right? And so whatever we take, and metformin is a very widely used drug in diabetes. Whenever we engage any pharmacology, we need to understand that there is it upregulates, for example, insulin sensitivity, and does all of these different things in which it pushes the body to do something. And it could be exhausting on the body, so there is a long-term consequences to this. And because it is a synthetic in nature, as all of the drugs, whenever there is anything synthetic coming into our body, it will, no matter what the science showed it yet or not, or whether they have admitted to something or not, it will constantly in some way affect our normal cellular function. What is cancer? Cancer is an abnormally functioning, the cell that kind of lost its way. And so with toxicity of different kinds, so pretty much any biochemistry that's foreign to a human body, and in this case we're taking an outside biochemical tool, it will and it could contribute among other things to some carcinogenesis.
Awesome. So there is a question. I just got a text from someone. I don't think they're able to.
Maybe they're on mute or.
Actually, I just quickly add to the question of the gentleman that just asked. I'm sorry I don't know your name, but I would strongly recommend that you look into berberine, a very strong tool. It's a botanical metformin, only it works better. So it's a botanical form. It does what metformin does, but it works even better than metformin, and it doesn't have all the side effects. So just investigate that.
What's the name of the medicine?
Berberin, Berin, It's a it's a herbal botanical metformin.
Oh, okay.
Version.
So I can ask my doctor to recommend that, or because my doctor isn't recommending anything. It's always metformin.
Well, the interesting thing, what we need to understand is the allopathic medical professionals, medical doctors never study nutrition or naturopathy. So if you're going to go to a doctor that only understands pharmacology, the only thing in his book, in his Merck mandated pharmaceutical education, he will be able to provide an information for you only on metformin. So he is not open, or he has never studied what we're talking about. So if you want to get help with berberine and other tools, or see how you can help the medication work better and maybe integrate it with, I would seek out a naturopathic integrative perspective. I would seek out a doctor that can help you mitigate between the allopathic medical doctor that's been looking after you until today, and integrate somebody else into the picture so you're covered on all bases.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And I had a question for you. So you have type 2 diabetes, right?
Yes, I have.
Yes. Okay. Well, if ever you were interested, the Ayurvedic approach, this is a lifestyle disease, right? So the way we approach it is through different channels. It's a very complex, and yet it is something that we can help you get better without having the risk of taking drugs that are still under trial.
Is that covered with the insurance or no?
So I am covered by insurance in Quebec. I could give you my naturopathic license, and you can see, which province are you in?
I'm in Mississauga, Ontario.
Okay, I can send you my naturopathic ID and see if they would cover you if you have private insurance.
Okay, thank you.
We could be connected. I guess John can make the link.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's another question, and I think that person texted me, but I'm not sure if you can hear. Go ahead.
Hi there. My name is Tanis. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Tanis.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Oh, perfect. Okay. So I just have two questions quickly. Right now, this year I'm turning 50 years old, and I just recently got the hot and cold spells, and I cannot sleep. And because of this, I feel like I've been gaining weight and I'm bloating. And my body, I can feel the toxins with the cellulite as well. So I know these are a lot of different questions and different concerns, but if there's anything you can recommend for herbs or anything, or anyone from Winnipeg that you can suggest that I can go see.
Okay, it's Antonina. So there could be multiple things are happening. So hormonal adjustments, I don't know, is a premenopause. We'll have to get a better picture on you, and that will usually goes through, more of a private conversation. And there could just be an adjustment for multiple things could be happening. So there could be an environmental change. If not, it could be hypoglycemia. in a sense. So something to look into. Maybe there's something going on with your metabolic function overall and some adaptation. And that could be, because a lot of times it could bring on sweating, nervousness, tremors, night sweats, unpleasant dreams, all those different type of kind of symptomology. So it could be either hormonal readjustment or potentially hyperglycemia or other environmental induced factors. So some of the things when it comes to hormone balancing, if I was to just kind of take like a wide reaching approach, again, it's so lovely and so easy to use herbs when they applied at the right time. Maybe look into Vitex herb, chesterberry herb. I don't know if Vanessa uses that in her practice, but chesterberry herb, if we're talking about right now some of the hormonal balancing, if that is the issue, if you want to, the body needs to help with, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, all of these different balances, it will be very helpful and safe to try and then kind of go from there.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
And this is Vanessa. What I would add to Antonina's approach, which is very good, I would say for the bloating, and one of the biggest complaints about menopause or premenopause is the change in metabolism. So the intermittent fast that Antonina spoke about is one of the best easy practice that I've seen integrated into diet. So you would have your last meal, let's say at 7 p.m. at night, and then try to not eat until 11 o'clock, 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. So totally giving a break to your digestive. And that would remove a lot of the issues with the metabolism. And if you can do that, you can start with 3 times a week and then increase it with time. And about the herbs, now chesterberry I love. There is Himalaya, which is a company from India that makes a menocare complex, and it's all to help with premenopause and hot flashes.
Perfect.
So
Thank you.
carry it in Quebec, but if you're able to find it, you're in Manitoba, you said?
Yes, Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Okay. You're in Manitoba. I would be able to actually ship it to you, or if you want to find it, I can let you know on the chat what the name is. And also, if ever you wanted a consult, I do virtual. I don't know any Ayurvedic practitioners in Manitoba yet, but I would love to know.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
So for both of you, is the fasting times that you both recommend between 11 and 7, or does it matter?
I personally, so Antonina here, I personally use, I used to push myself to eat breakfast all the time. And then, so when I learned about intermittent fasting, I'm like, oh my God, this is such a relief. I don't have to do this. I've been programmed and propagated and I just bought this thing. And I naturally feel it's not natural for everybody. I personally naturally feel I love to do, some people don't do dinner, some people don't do breakfast. I'm more natural not to do breakfast, and I find that I'm more alert, I'm more capable. I a lot of times, so I usually don't eat until about lunchtime. And yes, there are days in where I travel and I love eating breakfast, or I'd like to cook breakfast sometimes. I'll do that once in a while, but in general practice, I'm not forcing myself to eat every breakfast. And I've been doing really, really well with this for many, many years.
And what's the window of, is it like an 8-hour window? Or?
It's usually, so I'll eat in the evening, right? So I'll have dinner at about 6, 7 o'clock. I go to bed, let's say 10 o'clock. I wake up at 6 or 6, 7. I don't eat until noon. And if sometimes when I teach until 2 in the institute, I forget to eat until after my class. So, but I'll do consume a lot of water. So my window is actually more than 16 hours.
Okay.
Wow.
She's a pro.
But it's training your body. Yeah, you train your body. You become, but we guys, a lot of the times, just listen to your body, because each one of you is going to be different and unique. Yeah. And, somebody with diabetes and hyperglycemia, somebody with, something different hormone disbalance, and somebody, it's going to be unique for every person. So you definitely we'll need to work with you to kind of let you know and we need to ease you into it. I'm just a veteran at intermittent fasting. And so it's easy for me. I can go, for a long time without it. And my body is used to going inwards to pull and work, focus on resources that have been stored. And so you train your body to do that.
And how do you know how many calories, protein, you know, because we all need a certain amount of protein, carbs, and fat. So how would you gauge, is it just intuitive eating, or do you eat the same thing every day, or how do you know how much you're eating, I guess?
For me personally, it's intuitive. I think we need to come back to our intuition and not be reliant on all of these gurus and people outside of us telling us how and what to do and what to be. We intuitively know so much. And so if you start trusting this and you learn the process of understanding your body, you can do really well. And again, it doesn't happen overnight as well. So I don't focus on, I find that this whole calorie BS and all of this stuff, it's just so overblown. It works perfectly for a marketing industry to sell us on sugar-free, you know, diet substances and all this stuff. I call them chemical, you know. Have you ever read, and if anybody read here, the Skinny Bitch book, it was, they were very good at expressing themselves. And one of the things the girl said is just like, you know, sugar-free, fat-free, this and that. It's just like chemical shitstorm. Pardon my French, everybody. It's not French, but you know what I mean. And it's hilarious because we've been, you know, there's good salt, there's bad salt. Without good salt, your body is not, it's a very, very important electrolyte. So we don't want processed, bleached, deodorized salt. We want a high quality, like Himalayan, organic, natural from vegetables. You know, we don't want bad sugar. We don't want, so calories, you know, when I look at calories, Catherine, you asked a question, what do you do with calories? I'm like, well, there's two apples. One is organic and one is not. We are told they all have the same caloric value. So 100 calories, right? Well, one apple was grown in the nutrient depleted soil. So it has no vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, pectin, and then it has been sprayed 10 to 15 times through growing cycle. When it goes into my body's going to be shocked. My body's going to have to deal with all the chemicals. My body's not going to get the nutrients it's been seeking. And then, of course, you have an organic apple that's drawn all the nutrients and vitamins and phytonutrients, energetically clean, physically clean apple. That apple's going to give me energy and vitality. I'm not worried about calories, because if you put a label on the avocado, it's going to look horrible. But the body knows how to work with the high quality elements. And so just get off processed food, tempered food, you know, humanly, and then focus on, when you eat clean food, the calories are no longer a problem. The weight gain is no longer a problem, because the body can detox and work well.
Thanks for that.
Thanks for answering that. I eat all the time. So,
and if I can add one last thing to the intermittent fast, is that hydration. And I saw you, John, drinking your water at the same time. So hydration is a must in the morning. Whether you're doing the fast or not, you need to hydrate a lot. Your body just went like 10, 12 hours without. And for proper elimination, hydration is the key.
Absolutely. Anyone else has a question out there? I mean, you know, it's a great time. We got half an hour before the urban Buddhist monk comes and lead us with a, you know, mini meditation.
Well, people think of the question, I'm just going to quickly add in. I love that Vanessa brought up hydration, because guys, we are 75% water, and we need to flush our internal toilets. So we need to flush our digestive system. We cannot do that without water. We need to flush all of our cellular waste. If the cells don't have sufficient amount of water, all that stuff is going to be recycled and locked and stored in our tissue. And a lot of the times the body could accumulate water. You might not be drinking much water, but the body will retain water, because your body is so acidic and toxic. It will retain water to just protect itself. But it's not a healthy retention. So when you start consuming healthy amounts, good amounts, especially when you're fasting, you want water to move because the body during fasting state, the body detoxes better. It goes inwards to detox. Give it water so it can do it optimally.
Awesome.
And always focus on the quality of it. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Does anyone else have any questions?
Just water's so key, because I drink about maybe 3 liters a day. Just to let you know. So
do I, actually. I have my water jug, and I just I finish it even before noon, and I'm shocked.
Wow.
I drink so much.
Yeah, the best thing is to always have it around you, right? Like if you always have a glass next to you when you're working, doing something.
So any questions anybody want to ask? We got quite a number of time. I'm just trying to fix my system right now, so please do so.
My question was, if you drink water, does it have to be pH balanced?
Antonina, you can answer that.
Sure. I talk a lot about water hydration. So I personally do drink hydrogen-rich alkaline water. I prefer to drink ample amounts of it away from food. So I kind of like do this kind of, proper food combining in a sense. You can drink a little bit with food, but you don't want to dilute things. So, and you also know that when we have consumed the morsel of food that's being digested and charted in the stomach, we need hydrochloric acid. We need a lot of really good elements there to help our body digest it properly. So we don't want to inundate it with other things. So I strongly recommend to drink. We might as well, because our body, again, as our body has a pH balance all over it, like in different in kind of what's the best way to say it? Well, what I'm trying to say is that there's a different pH in every organ and every system. And the body does and works a lot at balancing that pH in different systems. So your mouth is slightly alkaline, and that's an environment in your mouth and for the teeth to be healthy and to be protective. When you're digesting food, the stomach is not always acidic. It's when you're bringing in the morsels of food is when the body starts producing acids to break it down. But then your bile, as the food moves further down the digestive tract, your bile is highly alkaline, and then different parts of your colon have a different environment. Your skin is slightly acidic. So every organ and every system in the body has a different pH, and the body has to regulate it. The only way the body can regulate the pH in different systems if it has sufficient amount of alkaline forming minerals, vitamins, phytonutrients. So all that stuff that our body stores in our tissues, in our cells, in our bone will be used to constantly give kind of buffer. If we consume something that's highly acidic, so when people are drinking coffee, people are drinking conventional dairy, people are drinking all this stuff that is acidic, soda, pops, whatever, they are acidic. What the body will do as it moves down the digestive tract, the body will have to will get into a fight and flight mode and strip your reserves from alkaline minerals to neutralize this acid that's moving through. So the body will constantly go in to get resources to neutralize any kind of acid exposure. So we need to be conscious of that. So if we are consuming alkaline water that's naturally alkaline in the sense of it has minerals that are not artificially added, minerals that are not, that are not synthetic in any way, the body will use that, store that, and then be able to, work with it at a later time.
Absolutely. And to bridge to that, there is a beautiful water filter that actually makes the water so tasty and actually more alkaline. And it's called Santivia, if anybody's interested. It makes your tea taste so much better. And I believe that a more alkaline diet, more than questioning the water, would be the diet. The alkaline diet is so important today.
That's awesome. Any other questions? Because if ask them now, because I've got a question for them that will probably
Taken out.
Yeah. So if not, do so, and that would be great, because it has a lot of things to do with this questions with children. Okay, but I wanna let everybody have their turn, because we have at least half an hour before the monk comes and meditate with us. So feel free to ask any questions, guys.
John, I'm curious what your question is. I think I might know.
Well, that's a nice word, curious.
Curious. Okay.
Oh.
I guess I'll ask the question. If nobody's going to be asking it, right? I'm muting some people. So this is for Antonina and Vanesa, for both of you. Now, since isolation, COVID-19, everyone's panicking about, what's going to happen, the uncertainty, and it's just kind of makes a lot of people think about nutrition, diet, and different ways of holistic approach into to healing, right? To preventive disease. Now, what kind of a nutritional approach do you think? I'm just going to mute someone. What kind of a nutritional approach would you take for children to prevent any developing disease or any kind of a sickness right now? What kind of approach for both of you do you think might be best for, the school board, any organization? Because the reason I ask this question is because Manitoba and Saskatchewan, they're the highest for giving prescription drugs for a lot of young kids in schools, right? It's out of control. I was reading up on this because I believe in nutrition. I believe in a holistic approach. But what kind of approach you would take to help a lot of these organizations or to families?
Vanessa, do you want to start?
Sure, I can start. I am really honored that you're bringing the children into this because they've been on my mind a lot. And I have a 14-year-old patient, so my heart goes to what they're going through at such a young age.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly think that what I've seen in my practice and what I see out there, the percentage of mental health challenges is much greater than the percentage of immunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Problems. So it's a big question. I will start with the physical because that is the easiest, and then I
Yes.
want to move into the emotional, psycho-emotional, which is where we need to support them so much. The physical, listen, what I do is I really take the family into account, right?
Nice.
So I'm very lucky. My 14-year-old loves to bake. She's amazing. So I took her grandmother's recipes, were full of sugar and, white flour and eggs and, very delicious. And I found her recipes that were very delicious and yet with ingredients that are more appropriate now. So I replaced so much white sugar with, either maple syrup or honey. And then I took the flours and went into more integrative flours and, added fruits. There's also a great thing that I do that got so many kids to eat fruits. I take fruits like mango, banana, let's say blueberries. I put them in the blender. I put a little bit of maple syrup, a little bit of peanut butter, and a little bit of almond milk. I mix that up together, and you won't believe the amount of fruits that these children are having and loving it, right?
Awesome.
Instead of having the sugar, the refined sugar, because let's face it, kids love chocolate, candy, and everything they can put their hands on.
Yeah, sure.
So that's for the physical part. Sleep, it's very rare that I have a situation with sleep with children unless they're going through something traumatic. They're great sleepers. The activity, the physical activity is very important for them. And one of the things that I heard, because I have a teacher going back to work next week, that there is a lot of the play outside, the play courts that will be shut down, right? So how do we get kids to do more activities? So one of the things that I've seen is I've seen them, going through using their bikes and using their rollerblades and using their trottinette, we say in French. So the kids are playing outside, but with all this distance consciousness and with their own families. So that is, and this I will bridge into the mental health. There is a huge problem, and I think it's not only at home, but it's also outside, where we need to start paying more attention to feelings, to being okay with having feelings. And this is not just for parents, it's also for teachers. It's also the way we were raised versus the way we're raising them. And my heart is very big right now as I share this. There is a self-care component that is very important, whether you're a parent, a teacher, dealing with a child. So there is a opportunity of growth and greater compassion. This is what I want to say. The biggest gift right now through this COVID situation and crisis is the opportunity to grow compassion.
Mm-hmm.
And we've all went through a grieving period, whether we were conscious of it or not. And everyone has the opportunity to move through anger, to move through frustration, to move through sadness, to move through all this without the need of being numbed.
Completely agree.
Mhm.
And the biggest capacity one person has to be with their own feelings, right? So if I shut down my sadness and I go and I eat chocolate or I put on Netflix or whatever, how am I going to show up for that child who's experiencing sadness? So there is such a growing opportunity right now for more love and more humanity while we go through this whole experience. And I am totally in line with a holistic approach to feelings. And one tool that I use with kids that I think is really great is that I use the elements to express feelings, right? So I will say fire. Fire is one of the things that I call my anger. My anger is fire. And all of a sudden I'm feeling fiery. There's things going on and then I'll say, well, I'm Argentinian, I'm passionate or whatever, or normalize it, right? And I want to say that gives it more acceptance than showing up with the shame, up with the shame that I'm not in control of my emotions. And I just want to say one more thing. If we are not feeling peaceful or happy or in control of our emotions, and we are feeling grief, and we are feeling frustration and sadness and stress and anxiety and depression, it is normal.
Mm-hmm.
And you are not alone. We are not alone. I am not alone. We are a human race going through a very challenging time, whether you are 8 years old, 25, 80, 45. So it's so important for kids to know, and teenagers and young adults, that it's completely normal.
Mm-hmm.
I love your example with the tools, with the fire, because I have a 2-year-old, and that is a great way to teach a younger child about emotions, right? And then let them know what that feels like. So thank you for that. I will put that into practice.
Oh, thank you. Do you want to know the other elements?
Please.
Mm-hmm.
So I use fear or, overwhelm as air, right? It's like a tornado. I show them a tornado. It's like a tornado. Oh my God, all this air is coming and it's out of control. So this is how it can express, right? The easy one is anger through fire. And the heavy emotions, right? The not wanting to get up in the morning, the feeling really lethargic. That would be like earth, but not just earth that you throw water on it, right? So it's mud. It's like it won't even move. So it's very much easier for the elements to express something that can feel really intense while you're going through it.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. And your thoughts, Antonina?
Thank you, guys. So the thoughts on children, again, I think one thing that we need to recognize as adults, and sometimes we do, but maybe it's a little bit later as our children are already grown, or there's so much that being embedded in us as we're as a children. Like we are so susceptible to a lot of programming when we're children. And what happens, I don't know if anybody has looked into Dr. Bruce Lipton's work.
Yeah.
He is
Yes.
he went into depth on wonderful. He went into depth on, psychology of belief, and then the development of the children, and these different states in which we function. So there's an alpha, beta, theta. So it's interesting with children, especially before like 8 or 10 years of 10 years old, they are sponges, but it's not for the information that is spoken. It's the sponges for energy, and they embody a lot of this, or they harbor and lock all of that in. So whatever the child is exposed to, the environment that they live in up until they're, let's say 8 years old, and all of that drama and trauma that they could have been exposed to will become a part of their kind of a body, in a sense. It will embody itself in their DNA, in their tissues. Because guys, we have to recognize, and what Bruce Lipton talks a lot about, there's epigenetics. The genes are not the genes are expressed based on our environment. They are not ruling, but they are the environment. They are always adapting instead. So what kind of environment are children growing and experiencing right now? If their parents are acting out of fear, if their parents are in this constant, in anger and fear, and the loss, they're losing jobs, they're worrying about their savings, investments, businesses, and everything. Kids don't understand what potentially mentally going on. They don't understand, the economies, the threat to survival, all of the stuff, taxation, everything. They don't understand those aspects. All they pick up on is how parents are behaving. Are parents angry? Are parents fighting? Are parents showing them love? Are parents expressing themselves? What kind of a mood and energy are parents in all the time? So kids are constantly very in tune to that. They might not be understanding anything, but they're learning the world through perception. And so it is really important that we as parents, as we are guides, as we are exemplifying our response to external factors, that our kids learning through behavior, learning through us. And so we need to always remember that, and we need to understand, regardless of how difficult or how uncertain times can be or are, we need to constantly come back to trusting the universe, trusting, a kind of, certain safety, trusting to be provided for, and not overreact to what's happening right now. To act out of love, not out of fear, and trying to extrapolate as much of a positivity as we can with what's happening, and now we have the opportunity to spend more time with our kids, to be perfect example for how to deal in stressful situations, to how to overcome whatever life throws at us. So again, through example, we need to realize that they are constantly like little sponges picking everything up. So I would engage with kids more in a playful time. I would turn off their television with all of the fear mongering, with all the misinformation. I will stay involved and aware of what's going on out there, but just kind of as an observer, not swallowing and in some way, and just making it a part of me, just being an observer, understand what is, but then creating what we want it to be, and providing that safe, conscious environment to our children. So, teaching them to clean, to be more creative, to be more outspoken, teaching them to dance more, to create art, like to develop in all other fields that they usually not fairly well developed in school. I'm not a big I'm not a fan of our compulsory education system. I love, and I've been learning quite a lot about all of these other methods of educating kids through experience, through engagement, through critical thinking, through logic, through living through actual practicing of something, rather than sitting in the, in the tight closed room and the desk, and let our kids express. Yeah. And so right now, really engage them into, do go for walks, as Vanessa was mentioning, take them out, play with food, get them to, they repeat after you. They are looking at you as an example. And so start with yourself, get a really good grip of where you're at, and then go from there.
Awesome. Thank you both. Catherine, you have any questions? So we still have like about almost 15 minutes.
I do actually. So my question is about sanitizer and children, because as I mentioned, I have a 2-year-old, and everyone, sanitizer has become everyone's best friend. And so what do you think about sanitizer and children and going out now and my son's touching everything and even elevator buttons or whatever, and even dirt outside. So what in your opinion, is it a bad thing to put sanitizer on children? Like, will it prevent him from developing his own immunity, or what do you feel about it?
This is a great question. Vanessa, do you want to go or do you want me to start?
You can start, Antonina.
Thank you. So when it comes to sanitizer, I'm not a big fan. The problem with a lot of sanitizers, especially commercial sanitizers, they have enormous amount of toxic ingredients. Alcohol is one of them. Skin is the organ that is breathing, and that is the largest organ in our body. It absorbs everything we put on it. So with my clients, I always educate them on being aware of what they wash their clothes in, what they sleep on for 8 hours a day, what they eat off. And with all these toxic chemicals that we're so sold on through commercials, I'm like, if it has a commercial, run away from it. It's usually that those corporations only care about profit and the bottom line. It's never about the quality. And we are exposing our bodies and our children to all of this unnecessary chemicals that we don't need 25 creams for a woman to stay healthy and beautiful. Coconut water, coconut oil, cacao butter, shea butter, all of this different olive oil, things that I always say, if you can't eat it, don't put it on your skin. So the same happens with sanitizers. Like, what's going on? What are we putting on our skin? What other cancer-causing chemicals are in all of those sanitizers? So definitely, if there are healthy versions, there are safer versions. So using essential oils, I personally use, we were talking about water a lot. I use Kangen water technology. It's a Japanese technology. It produces hydrogen-rich alkaline water, and it also produces electrolytes reduced water that is acidic. So it has 2.5, and I produce safe, non-toxic disinfectant for cleaning in my home and cleaning my hands and whatever else. If I needed to use sanitizer, I will use that water that causes no damage to healthy tissue, but kills 99.9% of pathogens, bacteria, viruses, MRSA, E. coli, necrotizing fasciitis on contact up to 30 seconds. So that is a safe form of sanitizer should I feel that I need to do that as a prophylactic thing. But when it comes to children, again, guys, our immune system only gets better and develops through exposure, through learning about pathogens, viruses. As a matter of fact, we were so brainwashed to just be afraid of this boogeyman, of this viral and pathogens. If we don't understand how our body works, there are thousands of different pathogens out there, millions actually, and there are millions of them already in us. They will only be activated where our immune system is suppressed. You underslept, you travel, you freaked out about something. This is when they take hold. So if we were sterile, we'd be dead. So all of those viruses, there's lots of stuff that's already in us. And as they say, there's already a lot of antibodies for COVID in majority of population, so at least third of the population. So third of the population or more, with so much that we're testing now and looking, they're already immune to it. The only way you can be immune to something for life is to actually getting it. And when you get it and your body is healthy, it has no problem dealing with this. So I think we need to be less sheltering of our children. If we look at 20 years ago and I grew up in the soil, gardening and everything. I grew up, we definitely don't want to bring, I don't want to put, my hands in my mouth or my nostrils or anywhere where I'm out and about, as you said, elevator or touching money. I'll come home and I'll wash my hands with a healthy soap. I'll clean my home. It's just a part of my routine, but I don't get overly stressed out and I don't live in fear of a little pathogen because I know my body is so much more genius and creative and if it has this, it's only going to be stronger for an effort. We can't, this COVID thing is going to have, it already has several, some people saying several hundred mutations. That's what happens to pathogens and viruses, but our body can adapt to it as it goes through it. We see science that says kids that had measles when they were kids, when they're little, measles, mumps, rubella, they are now immune for life and they have less risk for cancer and diabetes. So all of those things have a place in time. And we need to learn more. I think we experience a lot of fear in our society because our society has been dumbed down. It has absolutely no understanding of their body physiology and biochemistry. We have not been told really most important thing in our life is how to stay healthy and what health really is. And when we don't understand how, we know more about how our phones work or how our cars work, but we know nothing about our body. And it's so easy, because we're so ignorant about how our body works, it's so easy to put us in a state of fear, shut down immune system, and make us susceptible to everything.
Thank you for your answer. And how about you, Vanessa?
I'm going to echo some of that. Obviously, I believe in making your own, sanitizers. I use aloe as a base, essential oils. You can use, a bit of alcohol, but, keep it as controlled as possible if you really want to have the best sanitizer in your home. That's what we did back here. In our home, we have, COVID killer, it's called. And my husband bottled them, and we had fun making them, and it was great. And we have them in every room and every car and everything that we go through. Now, the thing about children, and these are special times, please, let's just normalize that these are really special times. There is a thing about protecting and overprotecting, right? Today, as schools are in Quebec, anyways, the schools are reopening for elementary, most schools Tuesday. So meaning kids can go back to school who are aged between 6 and 11. We are talking about a different time. So give your kids their vitamin C, build their immunity. And Antonina's right, the way to build immunity is through exposure, right? But build it also through, the right foods, the right sleep, and reduce the fear mode, especially as a parent. So kids want to enjoy the time. It's okay if you're fearful, but the kids need to know that it's okay, that they're not always getting in trouble because they're doing something wrong. Right? So it's to put in place all the preventative measures to give them the best environment to protect them, while still not bringing in our own fears, our own anxiety into the mixture of wanting to overprotect them and shelter them. Because then that is the side effect of COVID, is the mental health, right? So that's my take on that.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Can I add something to what Vanessa said? She brought something really up. It's really important. For those of you guys who are open to the idea that nutrition and upregulating your immune system through nutrition and nutraceuticals is a valid point, what's going to happen? We see a lot of social media. We see YouTube becoming tyrannical. We see Facebook kind of locking up and just pretty much calling anybody who talks about natural ways of upregulating immune system a quack. Vanessa brought up an important element. We're talking about vitamin C. There's so much. I can do 5-hour lectures on vitamin C and how phenomenal it is and what we have for research. We don't have that time. I want to, for those of you who are open, take a look on YouTube and find a talk called, it's actually Dr. Thomas Levy. So Dr. Thomas, Levy, Vitamin C, the Ultimate Antibiotic. This lecture that he did will show you how vitamin C, we don't produce vitamin C anymore. We're one of very few species on the planet that have lost the genetic ability to synthesize vitamin C from glucose. So we're no longer synthesizing glucose into vitamin C. All other mammals and animals, except for guinea pigs and some flies, are synthesizing it from glucose. So they're converting that. And so what's going to happen? We have to always get it from external sources, but our food is depleted. We cook it, we denature it. So as a lot of the times, it's just a matter of the dose of vitamin C. If you take a little bit, yeah, it will help you a little bit. But if sometimes it's in the dose, and when you listen to that talk, to that lecture, you will see, and there's thousands of studies to validate this. A regular doctor would tell you it's all quackery, there's no science. There are thousands of scientific papers that are published in PubMed, in Nature in Nature, in all of this, like really reputable journals. And vitamin C is one of the most studied elements without pharmaceutical, hijacking it in the sense of, it's studies are done without conflict of interest, because you cannot patent vitamin C as a molecule. So they're going to keep on telling you it's not effective or efficient, and they're going to keep on dismissing it because it competes to a lot of drugs and medications. So for those of you who understand vitamin C, if you look at the research historically, it has not been found to not be able to not take care of any virus or pathogen. If it's used in the right dose, it can take care of the most scary pathogens, much scarier than COVID, much scarier than anything else you have seen there. So if you listen to the talk, I think you'll understand and grasp some of the understanding for its potential. Please stay open. So Dr. Thomas Levy, vitamin C, the ultimate antibiotic.
Okay, awesome. Really quick question. We got a couple of minutes before we introduce you to the urban Buddhist monk, Vanesa and Antonina. And to summarize things, where do you see the future of Ayurveda, and where do you see the future of the role of nutrition in the next 5 to 10 years, right? I just want to know your thoughts on that very quickly. And in this fast-paced changing world, I just want to see where the future of that is.
So, Antonina, do you want me to begin?
Please do, yes.
Okay, perfect. So I love that you said fast-paced world, because Ayurveda is an ancient medicine, right? That has been practiced. And the whole idea is to bring us back to nature, to bring us back to ourselves, to bring us back to a state of balance. And these things are amazing. And this is what we want to do. And yet the world is asking for us to do other things, which are not really aligned with that. So I believe that the idea of integrative medicine and bringing Ayurveda to the forefront, that you are nature, that you are connected, that you are a bigger source, that your body is not the only thing that you are, is gonna take more precedence as we move through having to take so much self-care to prevent disease, to prevent crises like the one we're in, to prevent mental health challenges or cope with them once they happen, and to be okay to be individual. One of the biggest things Ayurveda focuses on is that you are your own amazing combination of 3 doshas that nobody else is in this world. And that is you. And when you are in full balance, you are at your best. And when you fall into this balance, then there's no problem there. So there's no judgment. And as we grow as a society, because one thing I have to say about right now and the future, I think after we rise as a society, having gone through this, the concept of oneness, the concept of being one will be greater and greater, because COVID did not pick and choose. Everybody had to go through something. And I believe that the integration of all this amazing ancient knowledge with the new technology, with everything, will bring a better health system, whether it's for our mind or our bodies, into light. And that is where I stand with this. So under my watch, there will be an integrative way to approach health.
Oh, awesome. Antonina?
Yes, so I think we're living in a breaking point in the time where people are waking up. And I've seen it, especially with COVID, maybe people have more time and ability to internalize, to go within, to kind of stop, overreacting and projecting and following, they're just living in a crazy pace. And I see a lot of people kind of returning back to origin, turning back to what's important, reassessing a lot of reassessing a lot of their values. So, all of a sudden the selfies are not as important as they once were. And all of a sudden, and so I see people were for a long time were opening into essentially waking up and remembering what their body is all about, what their nature is all about, because humanity is fascinating. We learn through contrast. We, in the last 100 years, allopathic medicine pretty much monopolized the industry, and people, when they let's do everything biochemically. Let's just focus on drugs, vaccines. We're never good enough. There's some things outside of us. A lot of people are just like, they've tried all that route. They've gone into all that in depth. They have used the system for what it was. Some did get results, some didn't, and many people have seen that they're on drugs for the rest of their life. So they started waking up to another potential, another possibility. And many people have been seeking. They're kind of, the pendulum swing so far to the left, now it's swinging to the other direction. People are asking more questions. They're demanding integrative approach, and this is the time where I actually see people take the most amount of supplements. This is the time that we see people asking more questions than they ever had. They don't take their body for granted anymore. So I think there is a big awakening. There's an opportunity for people to start thinking more, with the more open perspective. And I see nutrition and naturopathy, Ayurveda, traditional Chinese medicine, acupuncture, chiropractic care, all of this flourishing from now on. There's going to be constant attacks at this approaches, but I think as society wakes up, we become more resistant to this attacks, and we become stronger for the effort, and as we unite.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Vanessa and Antonina and
Thank
Catherine.
you so much.
And as of right now, I want to introduce you to, as we carry on, he's the person I'm going to introduce you. He's founder and the president of Making Canada More Mindful and Kind Nation. He's the urban Buddhist monk. He's like a friend, but a brother. He's one of the most inspiring individuals I have ever met, who's really making a big difference in people's lives, whether it be young kids, from first responders, teaching the police, mindfulness, meditation. He's all over the school. And, he was appointed as the UN Civility Ambassador by the I Change Nation. And I'm always honored and to have, Dr. Bhante Saranapala as my guest, but also to lead us in a meditation. And if you can kindly say something, Bhante, that would be great. Bhante, can you hear me?
Maybe he's on mute again.
Yeah, he's on. Hey, Bhante. Give me a second.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, did you get a chance to? Well, here you are, Bhante. I hope you got a chance to hear my introduction. But thank you again for coming today. I know you have a very busy schedule. I know you just led a meditation yesterday for RBC with 300 people. And we have some great speakers today. Antonina, you've met, and Vanessa from Montreal. They are founders of SEL for mental health for kids. But if you can kindly let people know who you are, that would be great.
Well, I'm just Bhante Saranapala and the urban Buddhist monk. And of course, I met Antonina. Did I meet Vanessa?
Not yet.
Oh, yeah. Okay. No, I don't think so. Okay.
You will probably next year. So.
So Vanessa, it's great to meet you. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and expertise and words of wisdom with the people. And thank you, Antonina, for sharing your energy, your spirit, your knowledge, your experience, your wisdom with people to make the better world. So, of course, I don't need to say anything about John. All of you know, we have been good friends for a long time, and we support each other. As you know, these days I have been conducting daily programs, mindfulness sessions for the public, almost 2 months daily. I have never done this before. Previously, I was doing just weekly programs. Now, since we all are practicing social distancing and physical distancing, I cancel all the programs, so I have time. I'm staying inside, but I'm busy with all these programs. But it gives me a great privilege and joy for being able to do some daily programs like this. There are a lot of people who are joining from different countries, and they are really benefiting from these mindfulness sessions. And our kids program is also, meditation for kids, also going well, and many kids are joining from, even from New Zealand, Australia, Japan, Europe, and South American countries, and of course from the States and Canada. So this time I don't want to say much. I just want to lead this mindfulness session for all of you to help you to relax. And I think the feedbacks I have received yesterday from the RBC people, even listening to the presentation and doing that 20-minute meditation actually gave them such a huge relief, and they felt very peaceful. And I'm glad that we are not seeing, we don't have videos, but what you could do is even just put your phones aside and just be free and try to relax, try to go inside, you know, as people are saying, if you can't go outside, go inside. And this is what we call meditation. And this is what we call the ancient meditation technique taught by the Buddha, called Satipatthana meditation, which means sati means mindfulness or attention, awareness, consciousness, and upa means within, inside, and thana means to keep, to put. So Satipatthana meditation means to keep your attention inside. So when you keep your attention inside, you're safe. And of course, to describe this, I tell a story. You may remember the story I always tell, the fox and the turtle, how the turtle was able to save his life by going inside the shell. And so in meditation, this is exactly what we do when we go out, which means when we let our mind wander around the world, going after everything, that's going to cause a lot of problems, a lot of stress and tension. So when you go inside, when you withdraw, when you put your attention inside, you feel relieved, you feel relaxed, you feel calm. And so eventually it leads to more deep experiences of the mind. That's where you feel the bliss, the deep calm state of the mind, known as the samadhi, S-A-M-A-D-H, samadhi, which is the state of mind, blissful state of the mind, free from all distractions, obstacles, and hindrances. So there are many techniques, and one technique is the mindful breathing. And I always teach this mindful breathing with my own technique, what I call SSMK. And all you have to do is just find a nice place, be comfortable, and go inside your own shell and be with the breath. Always stay with the breath. And when you breathe, this is an art that you have to learn to breathe. with this technique, SSMK. When you breathe in and out, just do so slowly, silently, mindfully, and kindfully. So breathe as much as possible without rushing for anything. Do so slowly, and if your mind is talking, recognize it and ask your mind to be quiet, to be silent, and with the silent mind, just watch the breath. And then always be mindful to be in the present moment with the breath, to stay inside the shell. And while you're staying inside your own shell, be mindful to be very kind to yourself. Be careful, be really careful for yourself now. It should be the way the kids hold the teddy bears so tight with so much love and kindness. In the same way, and you need to assume you are the teddy bear and hold yourself tight with a lot of love and compassion and kindness and care. And when you, if you continue doing this mindful breathing with SSMK, and even 15 minutes would be more than enough to feel relaxation and calm in the mind. So this is what we are going to do now. I don't know how many people are joining today, but whoever, a number really doesn't matter. Let's practice meditation now. So find a nice place for yourself to sit down. You could be sitting on a chair or on a floor, on a yoga mat, on a cushion, or you could even just lay on the sofa or bed. Feel free to assume a nice sitting posture and have your back straight, neither too rigid nor too loose. Just assume a very comfortable sitting posture. Feel free to put your hands on your lap. Just let your hands rest on your lap. And slowly and gently close your eyes now. Now, take a deep breath and relax. Now, completely disconnect your mind from external things. Disconnect your mind from the TV, news, video games, social media, emails, meetings, assignments, business, people. Even disconnect yourself from your partner at this moment. If you really want to be happy, feel relaxed, don't think about anyone. Always be mindful there are many foxes around you, hovering around you to try to catch you. If you don't want to be caught, remain inside your own shell. That is the safest place you have out of danger, and you will be relieved. As you stay inside your own shell, just listen to the sound of the meditation bell. And this meditation bell reminds you that now is the time to go inside the shell. Now is the time to put aside all the emotional baggages, past emotional baggage, future emotional baggage. Now is the time to be free, to relax the body, to calm the mind. With this in mind, listen to the sound of the bell and let yourself remain relaxed. Now slowly and gently bring your full attention to the ingoing and outgoing breath. As you breathe in, simply notice you are breathing in. As you breathe out, notice you are breathing out. No need to even breathe or do the breathing. The breath is naturally taking place. Just watch it. Watch the breath as it goes in, as it goes out. And allow your body to relax. Allow your mind to calm down. As you keep watching the breath, the flow of the breath in and out through the nose, you might even notice sometimes your breath is long, sometimes it's short. If it is long, just notice it is a long breath. If it is a short one, just notice it is a short breath. See whether you can allow yourself to watch the breath going in and out only through the nose. Breathe in through the nose. Breathe out through the nose. Relax. Relax. Breathe in and out slowly. There's no rush. Take your time. If your mind is wandering, recognize it. Kindly and politely bring the wandering mind back to the breath. And keep your mind in between the nose lip and upper lip. And allow your mind simply to watch and feel the breath going in and out through the nose, silently. Always be mindful to be right here now with the breath. As you continue breathing in and out, slowly, silently, mindfully, then be very kindful to yourself. Be gentle. Imagine your body is the teddy bear. Hold the body, the teddy bear, with a lot of care, love, kindness. Love, kindness have the power to heal the body, to heal all the emotional wounds. Love yourself. You have the power to heal yourself. Just breathe and relax. To sustain your full attention on the breath, maybe you could use a meditation mantra. As I always teach people this mantra, feel free to say to yourself, relax to the max. Relax to the max. Relax to the max. Continue breathing. Continue relaxing. Now, just say to yourself, may I be well, may I be happy, may I be peaceful, may I be free, may I be well, may I be happy, may I be peaceful, may I be free, may I be well, may I be happy, may I be peaceful, may I be free. With these loving thoughts in mind, now take a deep breath and let your whole body relax. Once again, listen to the sound of the meditation bell. As you keep listening, just keep allowing your body to remain relaxed. Slowly and gently open your eyes. If you wish, you could stretch your legs and hands and remain relaxed. So, thank you all for joining me for this mindfulness session. Thank you, John.
Bhante, thank you so much.
Vanesa.
That's beautiful.
Thank you, Bhante, for coming in. How can they get a hold of you? Some of these people who are attending this, can you give them your website or let them know?
Well, people can always learn about my movement, Canada Mindful and Kind Nation. People can visit our website, canadamindfulnation.ca, or just feel free to stay in touch with me in the social media, Bhante Saranapala in the Facebook. And yeah, you can follow me in Facebook or in LinkedIn, The Urban Buddhist Monk, and also in Instagram, Urban Buddhist Monk.
Once again, Bhante, thank you so much for your time. I know how busy you are. Thank you, my friend. And, you know, you're very inspiring, and you're doing a lot of great work in helping so many people across Canada and globally. And I'm always learning something new from you. And Antonina and Vanessa and Catherine, thank you. And everyone who who attended. And I just want to apologize. We had some issues with the camera, but next time I'm pretty sure we'll fix that one. And everyone, please be safe. And if you need to get a hold of Antonina or Vanesa, I can always give you their email and their website. It's actually on the email. Please do so. I'm just here to help out whatever that you guys need. And thank you, everyone, and be safe. Okay.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much.
All right.
participating. Yes, appreciate it.
you.
Okay. Have an awesome weekend, guys.
Thank
You
you.
too.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.